Self-Publishing Podcast, episode number 135.
This episode of the Self-Publishing Podcast is brought to you by 99 Designs, the online marketplace that helps you get outstanding book cover designs at an affordable price. Start your custom design today at 99designs.com/SPP and enjoy a free Power Pack upgrade valued at $99.
Welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast, where if you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. And now, here are your hosts, three guys who sometimes shower together. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Johnny, Sean, and Pete.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast, the podcast that follows three full-time authors as we attempt to change the face of indie publishing. Join us and our trailblazing guests as we shove aside boundaries, freely experiment, and occasionally screw up. I'm Johnny B. Truant, and my co-hosts are Sean Platt and David Wright. Wondering if I should repeat the explanation of the shower reference and my hair just out of the shower, which makes it look like I'm a gangster in a gang movie, which would be ridiculous.
No, I think we can leave that out, but I do think it's amazing that as much as we've grown,
I feel the need to try and straighten it some. So go ahead.
As much as we talk about like iterative growth and all of that, we still have the same tech problems that we had when we started the show 2.5 years ago. we've not grown in that particular
We're
way.
keeping it real, yo.
Apparently.
Unprofessional equals real.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really, I don't know how this is going to go today. This has been the weirdest day. The day started off with sitting down to write, and after saying
we started wrong.
Very
Like
odd.
the last thing you do.
So I said, I don't know what to do here. So I spent a half an hour trying to figure out how I was going to approach the current scene in the Ruby Room, which is the third Dream Engine book that we're doing for Fiction Unbox 1.5. And so I puzzled it for a half an hour, and then I slacked Sean, and I said, I guess we should have talked about this one little tidbit that we didn't discuss in our story meeting yesterday. Got 5 minutes.
It was the funniest thing.
And then no, because Sean's place is tiny and his family wasn't awake, and so he couldn't talk. So we tried to do it on Slack and wasted an hour there, and then we both wasted time because we couldn't actually get anything accomplished waiting for Sean's family to wake up. And then we had an hour and a half story meeting and didn't write anything, and we're no further along. Well, we are further along. Like I like what came out, but it was just very, very not a productive day.
It's been a stilted start of the day too, and it was that thing where because the loop had been open, I couldn't even focus. The other thing I was doing was beating out Robot Proletariat, which is totally different from Dream Engine. No intersections there whatsoever. I should have been able to just compartmentalize and go into that space, but I couldn't. I was trying to solve a problem in my head with what we needed to do in the Ruby Room, and so I'm just thinking about that, and I can't get into my work, and it's been an off morning or off day, but I am glad that we did it because and we talked about that on the video too. There's been a surprisingly lack of drama during 1.5 because things
we actually added the third book because there wasn't enough drama, and we said the people who signed up for 1.5 are only watching us write the Nightmare Factory, which is the second book. So we said, well, let's just give them the third too.
Because we want to make sure that
drama. It was too easy.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that everybody felt like, oh, well, that was worth it. I'm glad I did this, and we didn't feel like we were giving them that because it was so straightforward. And so this last couple of weeks, it's been those emergency story meetings. They're happening. So that's good stuff.
Is the Ruby Room based? Is it named after a strip club room?
No, but there is a story. When we were in,
we don't bother coming up with new references. We just reuse our old ones. It's been a year and a half.
Yeah, it was time to recycle this one. The first time Johnny and I were in Austin together before I lived there in South by Southwest, we were meeting Tucker, and he told us to meet him at the Red Room. And we were just everybody knew what this place was, and so but we didn't know, and it was on West 3rd, but we were on East 3rd, and the numbers hadn't started over yet, and I just didn't know. I just went to third, and
it was much more complicated than it should have been to find a restaurant that people knew called the Red Room.
Yeah, and so we're looking everywhere, and so we find this place that's approximately where it should be, and everything inside is red. And so we go up to the hostess, who's total just snotty, hair piled up, but she's just snotty, and we're like, "Is this the Red Room?" And she looks behind her at all the red, and then turns back and goes, "Apparently." And it wasn't the Red Room. So like 3 hours later, we find the Red Room.
Gotta love Austin.
It's like a little wine cellar somewhere, and so anyway, in Unicorn Western, we had this whole thing where they had to find the Red Room at the very end in Unicorn Western 9, and then so it was a repeating trope in the Ruby Room. They had to find a room, and I thought, you know what, that room should be red. And then I thought, there is the Ruby Room. That's the name of the book.
Is it full of hipster douchebags?
There are no hipster douchebags, but there is lots of clockwork.
No, but oh my God, was that an interesting process to illuminate our own, like the doing Unboxed has been like, I've learned a lot about how I write, which is very strange. So anyway, that's been interesting. But the day before Thanksgiving, as we record this, it's just like I was hoping to bang out one more solid day, and then I tried to go to Chipotle with my kids because, and every fucking high school kid is off today, and of course they all go to Chipotle. So I'm kind of sad we don't have a Better Off Undead so that I could bitch. But hey, what are you gonna do?
You don't have a Johnny Carinas you can go to?
No, I had never heard of that chain before we jumped in on that.
I've driven by it. There's another one on the going the other direction than the one we all went to together, and yeah. I've driven by it twice now, and I just laugh like it tickles something deep inside me.
You live in a town with 2 Johnny Carinas?
Yeah,
no moving there.
So, just a housekeeping thing for those of you. First of all, we're at an odd time, so I'm thinking that there's nobody actually here, although I do see a few people. So maybe...
Anita and Garrett are here.
All right, good, Anita and Garrett. Thank you for being
here. Hey, Anita and Garrett.
Garrett loving me right now for the current option on the table to change the format size.
Oh, that's it. Do you see it in the back? It's right behind Dave.
What? Well, yes, but that you wanted to hold it in your hands and look at it. Okay, well, whatever. We don't need to go down that path. But I forget what I was saying, but it must not be relevant. Oh, I know what it was. So if you're finding like, why didn't I find this when it was on? Well, it's because we recorded it at a weird time because we didn't want to do it on Black Friday. But in 2015, like just starting with the first one in 2015.
Oh, look at you reminding people of this right now. That's awesome.
For the live show, I got notes and shit. We're going to record at 3 p.m. Eastern, so it's an hour later. Currently we do on a normal day. We do 2 p.m. Eastern time for the live show on Fridays, and it will now be 3 p.m. Eastern on Fridays. And that's just for scheduling things to equalize out Sean's schedule since he's Eastern Central Time and all that. But just know that in 2015 we'll be moving that back, and we'll try to remind you another few times.
Which means Better Off Undead will be even later.
Yeah, but then we won't have a.
Yeah, but we're not doing that.
We're not doing a meeting, either. And it'll be it'll be the best way. It'll be a suitable way to end the week with just
me bitching.
Pointlessness, right?
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that new schedule a lot.
So that's just a note. I don't know that there's any other sort of admin sorts of things. I do have a couple of voicemails, and then we should be totally caught up, at least on the ones that have been delivered to me by Jacob.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, so do you want to do these voicemails?
Sure.
All right, so the first one is about reviews. No name on this one.
Hello there. I have a question. I published an ebook on my site, and it's been offered for a few years, and I'm going to move it over to Amazon. And I was wondering what may be the repercussions if I sent out an email to everyone who's already bought it, not through Amazon, and asked them to leave a review about it on Amazon. Would that look fishy because the book was just published and now there's a bunch of reviews? Should I wait a certain amount of time? Should I not even try to get those people to review it because it looks bad to have people that didn't actually download it from Amazon reviewing? I look forward to your answer. Thank you.
A review is a review, unless they're somehow tainted.
Well,
reviews.
See, you're thinking logically, and that's the first problem because Amazon customers.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Dave on this actually.
Amazon, there's like certain segment of the audience of Amazon reviewers that like they're suspicious about any and
this is the review
everything.
mafia.
Oh, I don't know anyone like that.
And if a new book, I am not like that. But if a new book comes out and like day one, it's got like 50 reviews and none
With
of them.
no verified purchases. See, that's it. It's.
But do you really think that? I mean, I could be totally underestimating her, but for an average indie author, do you really think it's going to be that many that fast? It's not going to be like a big name info marketer thing, which is what I think you're talking about. Where
No, well, there are some variables here for sure that we don't know. But if I think Dave's talking about two things that kind of coalesce. You've got immediacy of reviews. So like let's say the publication date is December 5th, and on December 9th there's 31 reviews, and 29 of them are not verified purchases. That looks, and for anybody who's actually evaluating that data, it doesn't look good. They don't know that, they don't know the specifics about where that came from or anything like that. That she had an existing book, an existing relationship. But to Johnny's point, I don't think most people are scrutinizing it that much. So.
Well, here's some things you can do to alleviate that issue. One, you can sell it very cheaply, like for a few days, and let your list know. And maybe some of them will buy it or tell other people about it.
You could create a quickie bonus that says, look, reviews, just explain it, like answer the objections, say, reviews are really important, but if, verified purchases matter a lot more. So I'm making this really cheap so that if you've already bought it, you could buy it again, but here's a little bonus that if you buy it, that's the bonus is in there.
Or you could also, like if you have some people that will review it, you can buy them a copy, and I think that would be a verified purchase.
I think so too.
See that? I wondered about that. We asked about that before. Nobody knows that, huh? Because we did wonder about that.
I'm pretty sure it does. I mean, the worst that happens is you buy it and it's not, but you don't buy so many that it first. Your bank. Yeah.
So that's just kind of like sending out a review copy. It's like contacting your publisher and saying, hey, can you send out some review copies? That's the same basic concept there. No comment on that. Okay.
Well, and I was just
it sounded like I was suspicious there or something.
Another tip, if you are buying like multiples of books, because there was one time we bought, I think, like 10 books or something, like as gifts to people. Like, I don't know if they won a contest or what it was, but I read online somebody's advice, and I went ahead and did it, which is basically buy a gift card for yourself and then buy the books using that gift code, because if all of a sudden there's like 10 transactions from Amazon or more, your credit card company might like call you up or whatever. So yeah, that.
Okay. Well, something to keep in mind. All right, so here's the other one. This is the only other one, and then we're up to date with what I have. So this is from Nick, Axters on Covers. Boy, I think I might already know what I'm going to answer to this one even without playing it, so let's find out.
Hey, Johnny, Sean, and Dave. My name is Nick. My question is, I have a book cover designer / artist that I've had for probably about the last year and a half, who I did not get through 99 Designs, unfortunately.
Oh, 99designs.com.
I've used him for many projects, both in fiction and in other stuff. But for my latest book that will be coming out later this year, I gave him some actor images, just kind of to use as a starting point, something to give him an idea for what I was picturing in my head. But then the illustration he gave back to me was wonderful illustrations of those actors rather than like using them as a starting point as I suggested. Now, it looks great, and I'm reluctant to ask him to change them. So my question is, should I ask him to change the likeness of those characters just so that they don't look so blatantly like the actors that I sent? Or should I just kind of say, you know what, I'm an indie publisher or an indie author who doesn't see a lot of sales and a lot of, what would you call it? Like, people don't see my book that often. So should I just kind of let it slide? Whatever input you have, that'd be great. Thanks. Thank you for everything you do. Keep up the great work with the podcast. And yeah, thanks.
I don't know whether to first address the burning need to not use that image or the resigned to nobody's going to buy my books.
Nobody's reading this anyway.
Like, dude, we love you, but please don't plan for failure. Like, that's just not a good idea. That's like the ultimate prenup of the publishing world. Like, nobody's going to care. No, I would not do that if it's noticeably like you said.
Yeah, I think a good example here is we have the Dream Engine cover. We gave our cover artist we said who we were casting, but I don't think that our cover looks like that person. At least, like, maybe if you look really, really closely, but I don't think so.
But people in the world look like other people in the world. Like, that's just how it goes.
Yeah, but if it looked exactly like her, and that was one of Erin's questions. She said, well, how close do you want this to look like this person? And I said, well, I don't. Just use it to inform, so it's a touchstone, and it really should just be a touchstone. If your artist, really nailed it, and if you showed it to 10 people and 8 of them said, hey, is that Lindsay Lohan? Not that that's who it is, but then you've got a problem there because it does look too much like that person.
And by the way, Lindsay Lohan is either suing or has sued Rockstar for having a character that kind of looked like her in Grand Theft Auto 5. So,
are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, like she's never done a carjacking. I mean, let's be realistic here, folks.
It wasn't even like a main character. It was like, like background, or I don't remember which character it was, but...
Oh, come on,
Can I get a definition of narcissism? Can I get that?
Wow. Come on.
Wow.
I'm putting something in chat. I don't know if you want to talk about that or hold that and wait.
We can talk about that.
We could talk about that.
That's like a voicemail.
Yeah, and we did want to read it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go ahead and read the question. We can just talk about it. Jennifer Bramseth said, got the Indie Power Pack recently. Thanks for the 99-cent bundle. Learning oodles of indie goodness. My issue, I'm writing a 6-book contemporary romance series saga. Not serials or novellas, full-length books, about 95,000 words each. Way into writing book 5 now. Hope to finish it by the end of the month and write book 6 next month. Plan to write the 6, publish in 2015, and then do 3 more, books 7 through 9, if I'm not sick of my world. I posted a similar question on Conrath's blog, and David Gauguin was kind enough to respond. Stack the first 3 for release, and the remaining 3 released at maybe 30-day intervals. But I'm wondering about your take. How to publish, the timing, all 6 at once, make 1 free, then put out the rest to funnel readers to the rest. See, I have been reading your stuff, or pre-orders, or what? So that's basically the question in a nutshell.
Yeah, I had a few initial thoughts on this. They aren't based on they're based more on reader behavior than anything else. And I personally am beginning to feel because Elman Sands did this in the end of 2013, and we just here's everything. And I think that it hamstrung us a little bit because it's like people didn't have a chance to get used to one series and then anticipate it more.
Yeah, we built no anticipation.
And I think that there's something to be said for that. Now, what was one of you was saying that the New York Times recently had something where supposedly, was it you, Sean, or maybe it was in one of the beats or something that I've read where supposedly the rhythm is supposed to be like ideally for everybody across the board, not just indies, once every 3 months or something like that.
Yeah, it was 3 to 6 months, which is kind of amazing considering how it used to be so much more protracted. But I think that's what we're seeing is that it's not just indies who are writing faster now. I think that because indies are writing faster, it's driving the whole industry faster, and people are impatient. Readers are impatient. I think it's a whole cultural thing too. I don't think it's just in in books. We want to watch our like for me, I don't like watching appointment television anymore. Like I love serialized TV, but I prefer to wait until the whole season's over so I could just not have to wait. Like just like watch everything and binge. And I think if you have to wait too long, I think that there are other people who are providing their entertainment who they can get quicker. Now, certainly that's not universally true, and I think that some readers are more patient than others. But if you see that inching closer to 3 to 6 months, you definitely want to be on that side. I personally think, and we're exploring this right now because we're finishing 2 Dream Engine sequels right now, and they're going to both be in the bank, and we have to figure out what is the optimum time in between those.
Yeah, I like Gogren's suggestion. Release the first 3 and then stagger the others. I think that's good.
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah,
so
and I would just trust him anyway. Like he really studies this stuff. He's much more mathematical about it than we are, and I think that.
Now, what about the first one is perma-free? Do we all like that idea?
I do like that idea. I do think that perma-free is has definitely dimmed. I don't think the results are what they were a year ago. I think that everybody's doing it, A, and B, it's a lot harder to find that stuff than it used to be. With Amazon, they used to have those charts were just organized a little bit differently, and so I think between those two things, I do think that there's some waning there. I think that. I don't know. It's so hard. It's because you can't play the shenanigans. The thing about perma-free, like it would be really great if you could just flip something to free, but that would dull a lot of the shine from select. So I understand why you can't, but that would definitely be a game changer.
I mean, you can go in select and do the select free, and then wait out the 90 days, then do perma-free if you want, and worst comes to worst on perma-free, you can always just raise the price on whatever other sites you have it on, and
then report it.
Yeah.
And then report it. Yeah, you can reverse perma pretty quick. We've had stuff. I mean, we have stuff that we can count on it. Every single time it will automatically be matched. Every time, and then we just have to notify them. Because if you do a promo, like you do something for BookBub, so you lower everything to 99 cents, and then you raise the price across the board. Like if you're selling anything at all, then chances are it'll be price matched, and you'll have to tell Amazon like, hey, I actually want it at $4.99 or whatever. Now I don't want it on at 99 cents every time. What did you think, Dave? I don't know if you've read this, but I know Sean has. I'm reading Christine Catherine Rush's book on discoverability, and she has a much more long-term, like almost traditional, not traditional, but I guess a more steeped approach to pricing. And
yeah, she's not into perma-free at all.
Right. Well, she was reserved. She was skeptical about perma-free.
And I liked her arguments, actually. I didn't disagree with them. I just think it's one of those things where you kind of have to look at your business and really say, what am I trying to accomplish in my business? Because we're all different, and we're all trying to build different things. And whether you're a 1-book author or a 3-book author or a 50-book author, and the timelines that you want to do those things, they're very different strategies. But she's definitely like a long-term player. Like, I'm going to make a book, and it's going to have a very, very long life, and it makes sense to, like, she's almost the opposite. Like a book should never be more expensive than the day it comes out. Right? We're trying to make sure that our core readers get the best deal. Like, it's part of, but that's just a philosophy thing. I actually don't think she's wrong as far as consumer behavior and all of that. She's actually dead right. But I think philosophically, Sterling and Stone is more on the side of, we love our core readers, we want to treat them well, and when a book comes out, we want them to never pay more for it than that first month. Like, not only are we trying to get traction in that early time, we're trying to, bond with our readers and say, look, we care about you. Where her argument is more of the traditional publisher argument, where the book comes out, it's new, it's a new release, it's new on DVD, it's whatever, it's new, it's more expensive now, and it'll be in the discount bin later when people care about it less.
Yeah. I go ahead, Dave.
Well, I'm kind of predisposed to that. to charging full price right away. And we've usually done sales in the beginning, sometimes not. I don't, making it too cheap though, it really, if everybody buys it, yeah, you might go up in the rankings.
But it's a crapshoot.
It is. There's so many ways to look. I know some authors, they'll do the sale price, then they'll raise the price, then do like more sales later on, and that's probably a great way to go. I don't know. I've just it's difficult if all the pieces aren't in place to do promos, then you kind of like, okay, Yesterday's Gone season 5. We sold a lot of them we sold a lot of them on our website directly, a huge chunk, and I know this took out of our Amazon numbers a lot, so we weren't going to climb high in the Amazon rankings anyway. So to release it on Amazon for like 99 cents or something, I think would have been a huge loss.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have made. It's not about getting as much money as you can. It's about making enough money to, keep the company, keep to be able to keep writing. So you have to value your stuff fairly. I think. I don't know. There's so many ways to go with this discussion. So.
Yeah, I'd like to have her on again, because I'm just really I'm enjoying the book. So not that I'm surprised by that, but it's
no, I like the book a lot, actually, more than I expected to. I'd say.
And we've actually gotten emails from people that have said, and this is a weird thing to hear from a customer, but why are you only releasing it for 99 cents? I'd rather pay full price and support you all. We've actually gotten a lot of email like that. Now, I don't know if this is true of all people or just some of the core readers. I think a lot of people, they want, as cheap as possible, because, we all have bills to pay, and you can buy more if something's cheaper. But I think people that really support your work will pay full price for it, and we saw that, and we appreciate the hell out of it. You want to, I don't know.
One of the things that Chris Rush, is she makes a bit, and I'm not vouching for whether this is right, wrong, whatever, but it makes a hell of a lot of sense. Is she talks about the different kind of readers, and she argues that most indies tend to focus on the discount readers, which is not wrong, and it works for them. But there's this whole other huge group of readers who it's never going to materially influence their decision whether or not to buy a book. And if you do it during a sale, then it's like, then you get the people who might not already know about you to give you a chance because it's cheap. But as far as your core people, she's like, and I don't know that I agree totally with her thoughts on ebook pricing, especially since we are competing with all the indies. But she's arguing for like $6 to $10 for everything. Like shorts should be $2.99. And I remember disagreeing a little about. I remember disagreeing a little bit about that when they were on, when she and
and I think a lot of people would look at their book sales if they're not super high. I know they fluctuate, and they might think, well, if she sold cheaper, the books would sell a lot better. Maybe that's true, but I think there's something to be said for selling enough, not. Yeah, I don't think the end goal is to sell like a zillion books at 99 cents. If you can sell, to your audience, and your audience will support you. And I'm thinking like stuff like video games and albums and stuff like that. You never see them come out day one super cheap. If you want the newest game, you're going to pay $60 on the first day.
Yeah.
And that's expected.
That's how media has always worked. It's what's changed that is the indie culture, because we can do things differently, and so we have. But there is something you want to find that line, because you do want to respect your audience, you do want to give them the best deal, but you also want to protect your work and preserve the integrity of your pricing. And we've definitely done that. We've definitely made decisions that are not in our short-term best interest. Look, we would sell the maximum number of copies, but it's more about preserving the integrity of the line and knowing what we want to do with it years from now, and kind of setting precedent now.
Yeah, and one great example of this is Crash. We sold that, didn't we sell that super cheap on the first day? I thought we did.
Yeah, we did.
And to me, if the book...
Yeah, and that's specifically one of the books you're talking about, Dave, that people emailed you and said, why are you charging 99 cents for this? I want to pay $3.99 or whatever it was. Like, people wanted you personally. They wanted Dave to capture more for that.
And Crash isn't a book that's like a feel-good hit of the summer, so it's never going to be a book that sells a million copies, unless they make a movie or something. It's not one of those books. So to release it at 99 cents, I basically, because it wasn't going to climb much higher unless we do some sort of promo or something, but it was, even that's dicey. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And it's hard to get ads with certain places for a book that's not even out yet. So there's just all these things in play.
Or a novella, too. It's a little shorter.
Yeah, a novella, too. So it's shorter. So all of those things basically worked against us. I mean, we sold a nice amount of copies, but would I have liked to have made more? Yes, certainly, because I think the same amount of people would have bought it regardless because they wanted to buy the book. It wasn't an impulse buy. It was, they already knew about the book and they wanted to buy it. So basically, giving it away only cut our arms.
Cost us money. Yeah.
And that's what Christine Rush says too. Is she says your core people. Her principle is, she says, don't discount to try to get somebody to buy a book, and somebody who already is going to buy the book or already would be interested. It's more about attracting new people by doing that. So I would tend to agree, but as Sean said, the philosophical difference of you want your your key people to get it cheaper or something like that. You just need to have a strategy, I guess.
Yeah, and I know some people, like, I think Jason Gurley, basically, if you're on his mailing list, you get every book free. And I don't know exactly how he pulls it off, but, he's able to do it, and so it can, I'm not saying not to do it, I'm just saying when we've done it in the past, it really hasn't worked out super well for us. If other people are able to do it, that's pretty damn awesome.
I think the key takeaway here is what we always say, which is don't just do things blindly. Do them because you understand why you're doing them and what outcome you want to achieve. If you just do something because, oh, I heard this author did this and it was awesome, then you're probably going to do something that isn't in the best interest of your personal writing business, Writer Inc., whoever you are. But if you think this is the outcome that I want, so don't think about what you should do first. Think about what outcome you want, and then ask your questions. Reverse engineer your outcome instead of just going blindly in with a strategy, I think.
So there you go. All right. So speaking of strategies, maybe we just begin by hold on, I don't want to begin there. Where do I want to begin? Spontaneously. I can't find my spontaneous discussion.
You might want to ask me about a book cover.
Oh, I should ask you about that. No, in all seriousness, so this actually is, obviously this is the part where we talk about 99 designs, but we are doing a cover, and I genuinely, like, Dave didn't need to highlight this question. I genuinely was curious about it. We're doing a cover for Le Fleur de Blanc, which is the Lexi Maxwell book that's basically just me and Sean, with Lexi getting final cut. So Dave,
most pretentious name ever.
Is Sean, blame Sean. So how is that contest going? Because we are doing it through 99 Designs.
It's going great. It didn't start off great, I will say. Basically, you guys came up with...
Whose fault was that?
That was you guys' fault.
There you go. That's what I'm looking for.
You guys came up with a concept, and it was a very narrow concept. It was like, I forget exactly what it was. Something white flowers on the cover, and that was it. And we put it out there, and we got like 1 million different white flower, and of course Sean's all picky about the flowers. Like, oh, that's not a flower that would ever be in a flower shop.
I don't recall saying that even once.
You're not allowed to talk during it.
No, he did though. You were like, he did it in a less. Dave's exaggerating it, but it was like, well, I really like that cover, but I wouldn't choose the peony. I would charge the lilac.
So what, I'm not allowed to have an opinion about it?
No, that's just ridiculous.
So anyway, we got a cover from one designer that we really, really liked, and we showed it to some friends of ours, and they didn't like it quite as much. They didn't feel like it screamed romance. So
it wasn't just that; it was that they said they wouldn't pick it up, which is like for a book cover. That's kind of an important. I wouldn't pick this book up, like maybe, and some it was couched a little bit like, well, maybe I could be talked into it or whatever, but that's not the way it
held a gun to my head.
works. Right. It wasn't that they thought it was a bad cover; it just didn't ring with them.
So we really like this one designer, the same one, and we looked at her other stuff, and she's done other stuff more like what our friends liked, and we're like, okay, well, why don't we just we're gonna make her the winner, but we're basically gonna get some other concepts done. So right now she's working on some other covers, and I'm very confident that she will do very good at this, and that is that's the cool thing about 99 Designs is every designer that we've worked with so far, they've been very accommodating and helpful in helping us to create the perfect design. And what we're going to do next time, and this is what I encourage you to do if you're going to do a book cover on 99 Designs, don't come up with just one concept for your book, for what you want the cover to look like, because you do this little thing where you like say what you want the book cover to look like, what the story's about, basically the description for the designers that are competing. Don't just do one, do a few, so that way you and your audience or friends or whoever is going to help pick this cover, they have a few options to choose from, and it's not quite so narrow. And that is another cool thing about 99 Designs is that you can create an audience poll, get your readers involved or get other writers involved that you trust their opinion. It's a great thing to do. So if you're looking for the perfect professional quality cover for your book, 99 Designs has a community of more than 300,000 designers that has you covered. And the best part, you know what the best part is, Johnny?
Well, I know that we were really looking at losing a lot.
Yeah, we were looking at losing a lot, but with 99 Designs, there is absolutely nothing to lose. A 100% money-back guarantee.
So start your custom design today at 99designs.com/SPP and enjoy a free power pack upgrade valued at $99. Now, you probably just like hearing that rote, like Johnny says that every week, but we initially forgot our own power pack upgrade and had to be like, okay, can you reverse engineer that and go ahead and add that? Like, so yes, you want that because then you get the exposure and they make your listing stand out and they bold it and it makes a big difference in how many things you get, how many submissions. So 99designs.com/SPP. And I think we may be throwing a lot of money at 99designs.com coming up. We were talking just like we need to get logos done. We have several book cover ideas, and so they may be working hard for us here soon. So there you go. So moving on to the topic, we titled this "Forging Unbreakable Bonds with your readers and having them love you," but it's this is about like communication with readers and just to enroll everybody here, it's I don't know the actual stat. Sean probably does. It's the sort of thing he knows. But it's many times easier. This is like a marketing truism to keep a customer. 7 times easier to keep a customer you have than to get a new one. 7 times more expensive to acquire a new customer, basically, than it is to keep somebody you have. So if you have a customer who loves you, first of all, that's that group we were just talking about who they didn't care about the price of Crash. They wanted Crash. So like they don't think.
And we're willing to email Dave to tell him he should raise the price.
Because, dude, think about this. Like I just
that doesn't happen if your customers don't love you. You never heard anybody ever email Walmart say, "I'd really wished I paid more for that DVD player."
So I I forget what I was going to say already. So the damn it, Dave. I pre-ordered. I know what I was going to say. I haven't read it yet. I got Risa Walker's book. Sean's already read it. Time's Edge, I think, is the second in her series, and I had read Timebound, which is the first one.
I really like that.
I wanted to read the next one, and I'm just trying to imagine myself going, well, I want to know what happens, but I'm not willing to pay $5. Maybe I'd pay 99 cents. Like that, just no. Like if you want the book, you want the book, and so there you go. But that it does mean that your readers, like they don't just ideally love your work. They love you. Our readers of fiction and nonfiction are incredibly supportive, and so we wanted to talk about some of our best strategies to build those bonds, because you want the 1,000 true fans, and this is how you form those relationships.
Yeah, we found this even. I mean, taking it away. I think anyone in customer service understands this stuff. It's not even the customer's always right, because I actually don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I believe that sometimes you have to fire your customers because they suck.
Yeah, sometimes the customers are wrong, folks. That's how it goes.
Yeah, like I'm not. When we had the flower shop, and I was in charge of the weddings, and I was not tolerant of bridezillas at all. I would call them up, and the first time I did it, my heart was beating so fast, and I felt like I was gonna have a heart attack. I was very, very nervous, but this bride was driving me crazy. Like she was just driving me crazy, and I'm like, and her wedding was very expensive, and we stood to make a lot of money, but it just wasn't worth it to me. And I called her up, and I said, we're not going to do your wedding. I just said, I don't feel like, I mean, I put it on me. It's not me, it's you. I said, I don't feel like I'm equipped to do the job that you want me to do.
It's not me, it's you. Did you tell her that?
No, I meant the other way around. It's me, it's not you. I'm not equipped to do the job that you want me to do. You're making me feel like
no human is.
Yeah, you're making me feel like I can't do the job, and I like dealing with brides where I know that they're gonna be happy, and so this bride, she was like, no, you got it all wrong. You're the only. I can't imagine anybody else doing it. And from that moment on, it changed the relationship, and she was a dream bride after that. And it gave me the confidence.
Did you propose her le wedding de blanc?
No. It changed the relationship, and it gave me a lot of confidence, and that just became it. Like brides had a few strikes, but like once they got to the bridezilla point, I was like, no, we don't need to do this. And it was for parties and regular customers. But we would have the crash customers too, where they would come in and they would say, hey, like this is worth more money. And it is really counterintuitive to have because my father and I have very different business philosophies. My dad always wanted to compete on price, and I always wanted to compete on service. And I want to carry the best flowers in the world and charge what they needed, whatever we need to charge. And because I feel like, especially when Trader Joe's moved in, if you compete on price, like, do you really want to win that war, right? Because even if you win, you're scraping. And if we compete on service, that's something you want to win. You want to be the flower shop with the best service. You want to be the author who readers love. And so I think when we've talked a lot about this year, about the things that we're doing now, and especially things that we're doing now to build for later, how can we really improve the relationship with our reader? And I think that whether you write one book or 100, that's something that every author can and should do. Think about, what can I do? Because we're all different, and we'll talk about some of the things that we're doing. But again, it's like what we were saying earlier. Don't copy what we're doing. Think about what outcome we want, and how that's similar to the outcome you want, and what assets you can develop, and what relationships you can work on to develop those same outcomes.
There you go. So where do we begin? We have a lot of strategies, things that we do in terms of giving away, promo copies, stuff like that. But I just like to begin with something that's so obvious I shouldn't even have to say it, but oh my God, I've run into it so many times that I feel I have to say it. and that's to actually respond to your email and social media.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing the number of times that people will say things like, "Oh, I can't believe you responded."
Yeah.
And at all stages, like it's not like, first of all, we're not famous now, but like compared to where we were a few years ago, or like it was even less. And at all stages, you have some sort of a public presence, and then somebody contacts you, and I'm just like, are people that big of assholes that they don't respond to things? So
maybe they just get a million emails and can't possibly go through them all. I mean, but you guys get a ton of email too.
well, but I'm going with.
I imagine Stephen King gets like millions of emails. He can't even.
But I'm not talking about Stephen King though.
Right.
I mean, this is
Yeah, I think you have to do that. I think that the moment that it's the hardest thing. For me, it's the hardest thing because it's not scalable. And I know there's going to come a point where I'll have to turn that off or figure something else out. But I figure right now, when we're still in the 1,000 true fans, cultivating stage, every email needs to get handled. And I had a freak out last week because my emails were showing. Google has been really bitch slapping me around quite a lot lately, and last week we had this whole thing where my Gmail was showing emails as sent, but they weren't sent. They were just going into the vapor somewhere, and so.
Oh, I can't believe I almost got up during vapor.
And so it was horrifying because I had to go through one by one and see what I had actually sent and what hadn't, and I take a lot of pride in the fact that I do answer all my email, and it was really sucky to not know whether I was, and I thought, people are going to think I'm being an asshole, I'm not responding to them, and it's a small thing, but I think it's a big thing that does matter. I think that people they want to feel like you care. And you got to think, like, this is one of those things that we have an advantage over traditional publishers, right? We're out there, we are connecting with our readers, and that's never really happened in publishing before. If you were, when I was growing up reading Stephen King books, the idea, even if I wanted to reach out to him and he was like a much smaller author, or any small level author, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be Stephen King. If you wanted to communicate with your favorite author, you would have needed to find an address in the back of the book to their publisher and send that letter
to the house and break in and make a bed for them.
It was just it's a much different thing, and I think that we're really lucky that we have the ability to communicate in the way that we do, and people can reach out to their authors now on Facebook or on Twitter or on email. We have links to our social media and to our email in the back of every single book that we publish, and nonfiction and fiction, and quite a few people do take advantage of that. And I don't mean take advantage of taking advantage of it, but they capitalize on that, and they do send us email, and to ignore it is just, it would be so wrong. And I know that we won't be able to, personally answer every email forever, but it should never be ignored. At some point, we'll need a different solution, and maybe like monthly author hangouts or something. You have an autoresponder that goes to that address and it says, "Hey, thank you so much for emailing me. I can't really deal with the volume, but I do fan hangouts every single month. Sign up for the next one here." And there are ways that you can do it, but to ignore it is inexcusable.
One of the things I like to do is a bonding thing with readers, and this I completely stole from Stephen King, is the author's notes. I used to love in the back of Stephen King's books the notes that are about the story, but also about him. And we get so many emails from people about our author's notes, and it's very touching in a way that it's cool that people read our books and they enjoy them, and I love that. That's as a writer, that's all you've ever wanted. But to also have people like comment on the author's notes, and like they'll share like experiences, like I went through, like we did a short story called Monsters, which was about bullying, and I talked about that, and got so many emails from people that like shared their experiences with us on that, and that is something that is just to not do it would be. I can't imagine how many people would have the same feelings for us and the connection with us if we didn't do authors. If we just wrote the story, put it out there, and that's it. And to me, that's almost a cold experience. And yeah, lots of writers do it, and I like a lot of writers that do it. I'm not saying it's ruined, but I think if you like doing author's notes, I think it really helps your book, and it helps your relationship with your readers. And for those readers that don't like author's notes, I mean, I'm sure there's some out there, and they don't email me and say, hey, why do you put author's notes in here? I fucking hate them. I don't want to know anything about you. I just want the story. But if you are like that, then you just don't read the author's note. The author's note is like a nice little bonus for people that want to like talk to you kind of or share with you afterwards. It's nice.
Zero loss. It's zero loss, and I think that it's good just personally too. I mean, when I finish something, to kind of reflect on it for a few pages, I think is a valuable exercise. And so, I think that it's impossible to. I think there's some readers who flat out feel cheated if there's no author's note
of our books because we set the expectation.
Yes,
yeah.
And so that it becomes important, and you want to. And that's a tricky thing too, because you don't want to set expectations that you can't always meet, and sometimes you do that, especially when you experiment a lot. But if you want to talk about things that we've been doing, we always do author's notes. One thing that I started very recently doing is, actually this started during the Dream Engine final polish, because we were doing it live. I thought, okay, I'll read that out loud, and record it, because I read it out loud as part of the polish anyway. So out loud readings of our stuff that, because they're me reading it, they're going to suck compared to, like a professional narrator. But some people like that, the same people who like the author's notes might like to hear the author read the book. So that's another way to bond with readers. Development diaries is something that we've been doing. We've also been doing, and this is new too, and I really, really like this. We've been doing what we call them, whatever the name is, unboxed, right? Just because it's consistent with what we've been doing. But like, Yesterday's Gone season 5 unboxed. We did a Crash unboxed. No, we are going to do a Crashed unboxed. It's got canceled a couple times.
We've tried twice.
But we will be doing a Crashed unboxed. We did an Axis of Aaron unboxed. And that's really, really cool, because we can sit there and talk about the books, but they're for the people who have already finished the books.
We did do a Yesterday's Gone one of that. We did the
we did the pre one.
We will.
So we need to.
We should do about the development diaries though.
Yeah, either one of you can talk about those, because I know Dave's doing one for the current project, and Johnny's done it for our last 2 and is doing it now.
I've done it, for 3 or 4 now.
What was a book that both you and I read, Sean? I forget. Fuck, I can't remember.
I've never read Fuck, I can't remember.
I've read the diary. The diary of the book.
Oh, I know. It was Steinbeck. Steinbeck writing about writing East of Eden is what it was.
Yes. And it was his daily diary. Basically, it was his journal to his editor, where basically, like, every day he stopped, when he was done writing, or maybe even before, I think, sometimes.
I think it was before. Like, this is what I want to accomplish today.
Yeah, and he would write to his editor, and basically they compiled all of this into a book. And I fucking love that as a reader. It gives you, like, an insight. And you guys started doing it, and Johnny was doing it, and I haven't read it yet, but I love the idea behind it so much, and I think it's something that a lot of, not only would your core readers like it, but I think other writers would like it, just because it's like a shared experience, like what you're going through as a writer, and there's a lot of identifying things.
Yeah, I think I talked about this on the show before, but maybe not. But when I read the East of Eden Diaries from Steinbeck, I wasn't a writer. I didn't even want to be a writer. I had a flower shop. I was not thinking about being a writer at all. But it was I hadn't read a lot of Steinbeck, and Barnes and Noble had just done this whole like Barnes and Noble branded version of all his books, and they were very pretty with like frayed edges, and so I bought the whole collection. Shut up.
Flowers on them.
And they were elegant, and I read everything, and I even read Travels with Charlie. Like I went through his catalog, but nothing like East of Eden just like ripped the soul. Like I loved that book. I loved that book, and so I wanted to know more about it. And I'm like, well, fine, I'll read about him writing about it. And that was not bought as a writer. It was bought as a reader. And I think that Dave's totally right. That kind of thing can serve two purposes. It really is the DVD extras. I think when you are watching those DVD extras and you see like them building the sets for the two towers and like all the miniatures and all of that, I think there's two people who are watching that. People who love film and who are interested in the
literally two people. I'm doing all that for two people.
Actually, I want to say something about that. If you don't have a large readership yet, don't think that you can't do this. Because even if just 5 people like your book, I mean, obviously, if you don't want to spend the time to do this, don't do it. But if you're writing the journal anyway, definitely share it, because if only 5 people loved your book, those same 5 people might also love this, and you never know how big your audience will be later down the road.
I actually I made that joke, but Dave just said something that I was gonna say too, basically, and it's there are several different kinds of readers who may be paying attention to you. There's the people who kind of are aware of you, and they might pick you up and they might read you, but they're like whatever. And then there's people who already they're in your camp. And the goal of these DVD extras and stuff is to take people who may have been sort of snagged by. I think Access is a good example because I feel like that has a good hook. I feel like that's the kind of book that sticks in your head and resonates. Crash is that way too. And so when somebody's done, like you want to capitalize on that, and you want to take them from the casual camp, if they're there, into the true fan camp. Like this is a strategy for building true fan relationships. So not everybody's going to care about your author's notes. Not everybody's going to care about your development diaries, but it's so worth it for the people who will care about those that it's almost worth doing just in and of itself, because I wish I had some quantification on this, but I got to think in terms of your long-term career as a writer. Like somebody who's a true fan, I hate to reduce it to dollars and cents, but like it's business, so sometimes it is dollars and cents. So that person has to be worth way more in terms of your long-term career than a casual reader. So why not put a ton of extra effort into nurturing that relationship?
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And what we're doing with the book 12 that we're writing right now is I'm doing the development diary on that, and I'm pretty sure we haven't talked about it too much, but what I think we're going to do is the call to action at the end of the book, in addition to please review, is also if you want to know how this book was made, get the development diary for free by signing up to our mailing list. It's a great giveaway.
Yeah, and the thing that I really like about that kind of offer is that it's so in alignment. So I think that people read the advice. So I need a list. You need to give something away, and it's not enough to just give something away. If you can give something away that is in perfect harmony with what that reader wants, then that's a really good offer. So like the Access offer right now is it's designed to get reviews, but it's we did an Access Unboxed video, and we did the development diary and the audio, me reading Access. That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of DVD extras. And the whole point is, hey, here you can get this extra stuff. And we didn't have to make those things, but I think that there's a lot of value there. I think that there's value in doing these just for yourself anyway. Now, if it was just for me, I wouldn't have recorded all of that. That's a lot of extra work. But the development diaries, for sure. I think that there's value just as an author in sitting there and talking to yourself for a few minutes.
There's
Either
value to me for writing those, even
Yeah.
if they never see publication.
Yeah, right. And I think that to just add it into your routine, it's hard. Like, granted, it's hard. Like, let's say you barely get to write anyway, and you're lucky to get 20 minutes a day in between, like after the dishes are done and your kids are brushing their teeth, and like that's all you get to write. Then it's kind of hard to justify time for a development diary. But as you get better at your craft and as you are able to devote more and more time to it, it's not all about just getting the raw words out. It's about doing the other things too that kind of crystallize your work and give it more value to both you as an artist and to the people who consume your art.
The thing here that is maybe clicking for some people, and it just may feel like a little off, is this is what we would normally say, it feels like a 20% activity. So with the 80-20 rule, you could say, well, development diaries and DVD extras and high-touch email and creating bonuses and all this stuff and blogging my process or whatever, any of those things you do, it'd be easy to say, well, there's a clearly 20%, and I need to move on to those later. But to Dave's point earlier is, I would argue that it depends, and since this is something designed to increase relationships with people who already love you, or to win people who kind of love you, they think they might like you over even further, because it's building a true fan base rather than just a fan base more generically. I would argue that it moves beyond 20%, just because that group is so valuable. Those people are your champions. Those people are the first to review your new books. Those are the first people to comment on your blog if that matters to you. They're the first people to buy your new book. Like, those people are so valuable that I would argue that to the extent that you're able to do it, to give them a little bit more of you should.
And because it's a 20% thing, I think a lot of writers don't do it. They do see it as a waste of time, and I think that could be to their detriment.
Sets you apart, yeah.
Because this is something that we're doing that not a ton of other people are doing, and it helps us bond with other readers, our readers. Now, I'm not saying you're like in competition with every other writer out there, because I fully believe in like the whole co-opetition thing. Like, we support other people and we promote their stuff and talk about their stuff. We're all about that. But when it comes to winning the hearts and minds of your readers, you want your readers to think of you, and this is something that you can do to do that that other writers aren't doing, and they'll be more excited about your book coming out because they know a little bit more about you. It makes you like a better friend in a way.
You want to be top of mind, yeah.
And another thing about this is it really helps with your mailing list. If you're wondering, well, what the hell do I email about? Well, if you have these other things that you're giving away, then you have, another reason to email your list without, being all spammy and shit. Like, okay, yeah, my book is coming out. That could be like one email, and then another email is, I have a development diary that I did for the book. A week or two later, it's free. Here you go. Just as a thank you for being, a fan, a reader.
What are some of the other things that we've been doing that just giving? I know there's some things that are coming up, and I don't necessarily want to talk about those.
Well, we've given free short stories. I mean, Dark Crossings is 18 of them, and we've given a lot of those out to our readers on the mailing list. We've given full books out. I know you guys have done that too.
Surprises. It's kind of like, it's very much like dating, honestly, or being in any relationship. Is if you're dating or if you're in a relationship, it's nice to surprise your partner sometimes. And
yeah, that's why I sent that picture of my penis to the mailing list last week. Surprise!
So surprising.
I was surprised.
But there's delivering on what you promise, and then there's over delivering. There's going above and beyond. In the context of a relationship, it would be just to be nice, just to deliver a little bit more. And I think that's the sort of thing you need to think. But I'm it's slipping my mind a little bit. What are some of the other things that
Dave
that
occasionally lets redacted win an argument, and that goes a long way for him. Right now, surprise is such an important part of this whole bonding thing. In this big 60-part autoresponder that we keep talking about, there's actually blank spaces in the autoresponder that says like really cool bonus here, and I'm not even really sure what it is, other than I know that we want to put those things in there, and some of them aren't created yet, or they're not, or we have them, but I'm not sure where they fit in. But I know that, okay, well, it's about time. There's been this number of emails, and it's time to deliver some kind of cool thing that they're not expecting, and that may seem mechanical to some people. You may be hearing that and thinking, well, it's not really a genuine surprise. If you're scheduling it on an autoresponder, but it totally is. I mean, I make,
because we don't have to do that,
right, and I make notes to myself to go buy Cindy flowers, because like I'm busy, I may forget, but I want to be able to surprise her, and there's nothing wrong with making myself a note to do it because I know it's important in the relationship. And so I think that's the same thing. You have a relationship with your reader, and it's okay to send yourself notes, or whatever the equivalent is there. It's that you want to go the extra mile, because not all authors are, and the traditionals certainly aren't. And that's a bag, and that's a trick that you have in your bag that they don't, and that's a more important trick to play with, I think, than pricing.
I'm glad you mentioned the autoresponders, because that is a way to leverage email a little bit. Like we said, you can't have that high-touch email communication forever, like if you're going to grow. But an autoresponder is a fantastic bonding tool, because it catches people up. Like if they don't know you, like the Sterling and Stone autoresponder will take people through our story. Like those of you who've been with us for a really long time, if we joke about the origins of Unicorn Western, which all three of us were a part of, like you're going to know that story. But if you haven't been and you're brand new, just because you're encountering us now doesn't mean that you wouldn't have appreciated what occurred back then. And so an autoresponder is a good way with those automatic emails over time of they get to experience your story as if they had entered it at the beginning. And if they're at all a right fit for you, if they're anywhere on the spectrum of true fan, they're going to want those things. And that they're going to want to re-experience those. And it is, like Sean said, I can see how you might think, well, it's scheduled emails, so it feels mechanical, but you don't write them in a way that feels mechanical, and you aren't trying to fool anyone. Like, it's not like, hey, I didn't write this like, it's clearly an automatic email, but it shouldn't dampen the spirit in which you wrote it.
Right.
One of the things that I think that anything you can do that's above and beyond, Dave's reaction to this when he heard about it, I thought was amusing. But when Hugh Howey published his book Sand, do you remember this, Dave? Hugh made a YouTube video where he was sending out copies of Sand, the paper copies, and he would sprinkle some sand in it. And Dave's like, I'd be pissed if there was sand in my book.
Thanks for sending me dirt, asshole.
But Hugh is always doing little things like that. Little, people order his books from him. I don't know if it's all the time or sometimes. So he's doing something with them. He's signing them. He's
you and Sean are very much alike in their whole kindness and being the good husband / author. Very thoughtful people.
Oh, come on. She can't do everything wrong. There must be
I'm not. Fuck you. I didn't say she did.
Just not loading the dishwasher.
She's terrible at that.
It's her whole family, by the way, that can't load a dishwasher. Her mother and her sisters, they all like put plastic on the bottom. I'm like,
maybe it's hereditary.
It is. I think it is.
So any other things to add before we're done?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Well, we aren't going to have a Better Off Undead today if you normally stick around, if you're normally a glutton for punishment. We aren't going to have a Better Off Undead.
You're welcome. It's our way of saying thanks to you.
Although there's one coming up where Dave's going to discuss where he wanted to be a cop, which I'm very excited about.
Oh, that's going to be good stuff.
Very, very excited about that one. And no updates on the Big Nine, so we still don't really know. We're trying to get our Big Nine: J.J. Abrams, Clive Barker, Dean Koontz, Stephen King, John August, John Green, Louis C.K., Chuck Palahniuk, Kevin Smith. Although we do have a very, very tentative plan where we may be able to contact Kevin Smith. So thanks to Thomas for.
We've had some interesting suggestions from our audience on ways to get
we love you guys.
But all of them have been super sneaky and like, no, I'm not doing that.
So, but keep the ideas coming. If you have any other ideas how to get those people on SPP, and we can all hang out together. So, all right. Well, this has been a self-publishing podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Today is launch day of the Fiction Unboxed book. You may want to check that out. If we weren't fast enough, you may still be able to get the Write, Publish, Repeat Conversations bonus, but that's coming down imminently, so maybe you missed it with the pre-order. If you want to check out our advice without the off-topic bullshit, be sure to pick up Write, Publish, Repeat. The No Luck Required is self-publishing success at selfpublishingpodcast.com/WPR. And we'll see you next week, people. Thanks.
Peace out.